The OECD has downgraded Australia's economic outlook, warning a deep recession is likely in Europe as a result partly of the war in Ukraine. But the Paris-based organisation believes Australia will avoid a recession. That's good news. They are, though, predicting a tough road ahead, especially for mortgage holders, saying that the interest rates in Australia will go up another 1.25% to 3.6%. That's higher than many have suggested previously. Let's bring in Simon Cowan from the Centre for Independent Studies. Good to talk to you again, Simon.
Absolute pleasure.
Avoiding recession, that's good news. Are they right?
It's honestly really hard to tell at this point in time. Australia has a track record of dodging global recessions. You can see that we avoided the Asian financial crisis, the 2001 dot-com bubble burst. We avoided the GFC, even if only by the barest of margins. So we have a bit of a track record there, but it will be very challenging for Australia if we see a recession in Europe, if the US economy tips over and we're seeing massive rate rises there, if the war in the Ukraine continues, the supply chain issues. There are a lot of risks for Australia, so much so that it'll be very difficult for us to say definitively, yes, we will avoid recession, or no, we won't.
We obviously are going to make it harder for ourselves with our energy policies at the moment, but let's talk about next month's budget. What does Jim Chalmers have to do to maximise the chances of Australia dodging the recession?
Well, that's a really good question, and there's a question of what Jim Chalmers should do, and there's a question of what Jim Chalmers will do. Next month, we're likely to see another interest rate increase from the Reserve Bank. That'll come before the budget. The most interesting thing of this budget is probably not what Labor is going to do. I suspect that their changes will be fairly minimal. It will be what are the Treasury forecasts for growth, for inflation, for unemployment in Australia over the next 2 or 3 years, because they're the real figures that's going to determine what's going on. There are rumours going around that the budget position has improved enormously. It'll be interesting to see how much of that tax windfall is spent by Labor.
Well, that'll make it worse, won't it? If they spend that money, they'll just fuel inflation.
Any additional spending that flows through to inflation will make the position worse. It will make interest rates go higher. It will make things harder for mortgage holders if they do that. But I expect that this mini budget is likely to be far less about Labor's new spending priorities and far more about what the forecasts will be for the next 18 months.
Fascinating stuff, Simon. We'll talk to you again as that event approaches. Thanks for joining us.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Chris.